Hopefully we're alive now. Hey guys, welcome to this live event. So let me just quickly sort some stuff out. Oh shoot, right, yeah. Just already done the first mistake. I just need to get onto my YouTube channel so I can look at all your comments that you're leaving and leave them in the sidebar. It's either this side or the side down there, I don't know. Depends what device you're on. But leave your comments there. If you haven't been to a live event before, all that I do in this particular video is just you leave a question about periods or whatever, and I will get to them and answer them for you. So let me just mute that for a second. And I can see all your comments saying hey, so hi everyone. And one thing we like to do in these videos is just get everyone to say where you're from. So tell me down below where you're watching. And again, apologies for the poor quality. I'm just doing this on my laptop. And as you can possibly tell, I'm babysitting again, which is why I was able to do this. Before I go any further, I want to apologize. Today I was supposed to put a video up. I did a period talk today, and I filmed it on my camera, uploaded it onto my laptop, and then I stupidly left my laptop at my parents' house, which is very close to where this babysitting job is. So I thought I would just leave it. I'd upload it onto my laptop, shut my laptop down, and then come over here and edit it over here. And then I came over and discovered it hadn't actually uploaded fully onto my laptop, so I couldn't edit it and upload it, and I was really, really annoyed about that. But yeah, anybody, any questions you have, just leave them down below and I will get to them. So hopefully I will get that video up tomorrow, even though it's a day late, but I'm really sorry about that. Something's just happened. I was like, oh, darn it, when I saw that. Right, so let me go back a little bit and find some questions. Okie dokie. So let's start with, actually this one isn't a period one, but it's a good one. What's your favorite vegan meal and what have you found hardest about becoming more plant-based? What's my favorite vegan meal? I don't think I could really pinpoint one. I love lots of meals, but there is I do like mixed fried rice, and in particular, there's a meal I do quite often, which is like mushrooms and garlic and peas in rice with like a sweet soy sauce, and I really like that a lot. So it's probably one of my favorite vegan meals. I think the hardest thing about becoming more plant-based is eating out. At home and finding products like at the supermarkets to cook with is no problem, but when you go out, finding stuff that's vegan, if you're going to a cafe, is actually usually okay because they sell fruit or whatever, and there are actually quite often a couple of vegan options there, but it's more if you go to a restaurant, that's where I really struggle, and I often end up like not being able, like they don't even have, I think I went somewhere recently where they didn't have even a vegetarian option, so I just went for a normal meat option that I would have usually eaten, which is what I do in those situations because I'm like, you know, I couldn't help where we were and it was just like I need to eat, so I was starving as well. But yeah, that's really the hardest thing, is eating out vegan when you're the only one in your family that is vegan, and the restaurants quite often don't have vegan stuff unless it's specifically a vegan restaurant. What are cheaper options for menstrual cups? The Maluna cup is definitely the cheapest menstrual cup, so that's probably the best option for cheaper menstrual cups, and it's also a reasonably well-made cup. Let me have a look. Got lots of comments to get through that aren't questions. Let me see. Oh, also, if you can't seem to comment on this video, I put a post on Instagram saying I had a live event, so just head on over to Instagram and leave a comment down there, and I will try and remember at some point in the video to go and check that. If you guys want to prompt me to check Instagram every now and then, feel free. Have you ever thought of selling your products in shops like Superdrug and Boots? I have thought of doing that. The main issue is to sell in those shops, you have to have huge quantities of the products, and I'm just not at that stage yet, but hopefully in the future that will happen. I'm working towards it, but not quite there just yet, and it is still really warm over here. I'm going hot, cold at the moment. Right. Okay. Okay, I just seem to have skipped some products. Darn it. This always happens to me. Any tips on knowing when you're going to start your period? first time you start your period, I can't really give any tips on that. It just sort of happens when you're least expecting it, and probably at the most inconvenient time as well, as it's just sod's law. But when you've started your periods and they're reasonably frequent, but you're not entirely sure which day it's going to start, for me, it used to be like when I started to cramp, I got a few days before, like that would give me an idea my period was coming, and I just put Pantone in to be prepared. So that's probably the best way. What would you do if you were in school and you get a really bad period pain and you have took pills? Do you mean and you've taken some pills already? In that case, I would go to the office and say what you're going through, because you can't take any more. But if you're in agony, then you'll need to go home probably. I mean, if I'd been in school and I had my really bad period pains, I would have been in no state to do any sort of learning whatsoever. I would have just been lying down with a sick bowl, really. So it depends how bad the pain is. How come on lighter days my cup is much harder to get out? It's probably because when you're on your period, it's quite common for your cervix to drop down lower. However, after a few days, the period gets lighter, there's less sort of blood in your uterus weighing it down almost. So your cervix tends to move back up again, which is why the cup goes up. But also, if you're not bleeding as much, then you're not going to be creating as much lubrication. That might be what makes it more difficult to get your cup out. But that's one of the reasons. I have a small ballona and I cannot for the life of me get it in. I'm not a virgin. Lubricant, all the time, lubricant is the answer to anything with a menstrual cup. I still struggle to get a menstrual cup in without lubricant. I need it. Even with like a cup that's wet, I still need to use lubricant. So don't think if you can't get a cup in without lubricant, there's something wrong with you. Like, I've used several cups, but like I find it really difficult to get a cup in without lubricant. So it's completely normal. Hi, my doctor thinks I have endometriosis and wants to give me a laparoscopy, but I'm worried that it will do more harm than good. What do you think? I think if your doctor has recommended you need to have that done, then you should. For me, the only reason I was not prepared to have a laparoscopy done when my periods were still really bad was because I have had really bad reactions to anesthetics in the past. I do not react well under anesthesia. It just messes my whole system up for me personally because I have other complications. But if you have none of that, then the best bet probably is to have a laparoscopy, because even if you don't have it, you'll have peace of mind afterwards. They can say it's not this and you can work towards something else. But otherwise, you're always going to be wondering if that is the issue. So I would think of it more as this is what we're doing to see if we can tell what's wrong. And once you know what's wrong, you can start making plans to help cope with it. So I think if your doctor's recommended it, then you need to do it. Help overcoming PMS. I have to say, I really don't get PMS. I've never had like mood swings or anything. Also, the only thing I sometimes get like slightly tender breasts, usually on my right, like underneath, before my period. But I've never had mood swings or felt really emotional before my period. I don't notice any sort of instability in that way. I've always been quite lucky with that. So I can't really give any tips on how to cope with it. The only premenstrual symptom I have had in the past has been cramping, really, cramping and slightly tender breasts, but nothing that was excruciating. Like, I could still wear tops, and I'm not someone that wears a bra very often, but I could also wear a bra if I needed to still. So yeah, sorry, I can't help more with that one. Has your health gotten better since going vegan? I wouldn't say it's gotten like hugely, drastically better that I can see, but it hasn't like got worse, so it's pretty much stable. Although one thing I have noticed is my eczema. I don't know if you can see on this crappy lighting at camera, but it's like almost completely cleared up. I do occasionally get itching like on this one spot whenever I get out of the bath, whenever I soak in the water of any kind. Even if there's no perfume or anything in the water with me, I will always like itch in this one place. It's just how my body is. But that's completely cleared up, and that I was quite surprised about. So that was really, really good. And I do still use cream on it occasionally. It's a bit dry, but it's no longer like itchy and eczema. That's probably the main health thing I've noticed. And I only spotted that today actually when I got out of the bath, and I was like, wow, like it's completely gone. I hadn't noticed that. So yeah, but I don't feel any worse, certainly, and I won't really know how it's affecting my health wise. I don't think it's till I go back to dancing. I'm still eating a little bit too much sugar for my liking. I'm slowly like cutting down, because sugar is like addictive, so you do get addicted to it. It's kind of like your brain reacts to sugar in a similar way that it reacts to cocaine. It's it's addictive. It's awful. So you have to kind of slowly wean yourself off it, which is what I'm doing. But I'm getting there, and I've discovered loads of like delicious recipes with natural sugars and stuff, and low sugar stuff. But yeah, I'll only really be able to tell when I go back to dancing, because that's when I will know how I feel stamina wise, if I can cope better or not. Right now I'm going to scroll down to the more recent comments, because I've been reading through some of the older ones. So, where did you find the courage to talk to people about rumps? Is it easier to do over the internet or face to face? It's definitely easier to do over the internet. I do it face to face as well, because it's like my job and I will talk to people about it. But it's definitely easier over the internet, because I find it so much more it's easier to talk to a camera, because a camera can't talk back to you. And you're never quite sure if someone's response when it's face to face in person, how they're going to react to something like that. But I do it over the camera. If I do it by camera, I put it up online. If some people don't like it, they'll put a nasty comment, but that can fly over my head now. They're usually lots of really positive ones, or helpful ones at least, and that's what I do it for. What does it mean if I have a heavy flow, but then suddenly my next period is really light? If you are new to your periods, if there's still if you only had your period for a couple of years, it's still probably just settling down. That's completely normal. However, if that continues repeatedly, then you might want to go and see a doctor about that. Do you still recommend Maluna cups for the first try? Yes, I do. If you are, particularly if you're a young teen, or actually just a teen in general, and especially if you're not sexually active at all, I just think the small Maluna with lubricant and the classic stem is the easiest to get used to inserting and taking out, and it's not daunting. It's not a daunting cup to look at. It looks friendly, and somehow getting your mind around being able to insert it and remove it, once you've got that system down, then you can pretty much use any cup and you'll feel much more confident, even if you need to upsize later on. But it's definitely the best cup to start with, I think, especially if you are at the younger end of the scale. What's your favorite cloth pad? Oh, that's a really tough question. Oh, my neck's really stiff. I've been stretching so much for dance recently. My back is completely dead. Favorite cloth pad? That's a really good question. I don't think I actually have one particular pad. I really like it changes every month. I really like Homestead Emporium pads. But my favorite cloth pad is probably the 12-inch. You'll see it in some of my What I Wore This Month videos. The 12-inch cotton top pad I have from Creations by Five, that's got this beautiful countryside cotton print on it, and it's my favorite pad purely because of that print. I just absolutely love it. I'm a country girl. I love being in the countryside and all that kind of stuff. So I just love that print. I fell in love with it when I saw it, and I think it probably is still my favorite pad picture-wise. But yeah, I have a lot of pads I really, really like, so I'd have to actually go through and physically see all my pads to actually pick one out. But maybe I'll do that at some point with all the different sizes, if that's of interest to anyone. Why did you become vegan? Many reasons. The main reason I first became vegan was because I had watched Forks Over Knives. This was a couple of years ago I first went vegan, actually, and it only lasted a month because I didn't do it right and I was still living with my parents. And then back at the end of June, I decided I want to try it again after watching Forks Over Knives again. And I've stuck with it, and it's actually worked out really well this time, and I'm doing fine now. And I don't miss the other stuff like I did last time. And I also do it for environmental reasons. I watched Cowspiracy, I think, about a month after I'd already gone vegan, and it just reaffirmed my reasons for going vegan. So that was really good. But yeah, multiple reasons, but mainly health and environment. They were the two things that made me switch to it. And if you haven't watched Forks Over Knives or Cowspiracy, then I definitely recommend you do. They are really good, really well done documentaries, and I really enjoyed them. What do you suggest to do if you have an extremely heavy period you feel like you've tried everything possible at that point. I would recommend, if you haven't already gone to your doctor, going to your doctor, because it might signify that something is wrong. Change in diet is also a good thing to maybe think about doing. That can help lighten your periods up. To be perfectly honest, I've never experienced heavy periods, so I can't really say what I have tried and what I haven't to help. But yeah, you can kind of give, the doctor's probably the best bet if you haven't already. Oh, sorry, let me turn my phone off. Okie dokie. Oh, also, if I have to stop this, it'll be because little people have come in, but I'm hoping to be able to do this one for a bit longer than my last couple of ones. When did you first start your period? I was 14, and it was August. Actually, it's August now. It's been how old am I now? I'm 19. I said I'm 16 now. I'm not 16. I'm 19. I started when I was 14, so I've had my period for 5 years now. Exactly 5 years almost. I think it was mid-August in 2011. Yeah, I must be right. And it was just before I went on a camping trip. That's when I started my first period, and it was very heavy that time. But then, fortunately, it's never been heavy since. Is it expensive to eat plant-based? Sorry if you already answered this. I just turned on. It can be, if you like. It doesn't have to be, is the answer. I like to buy a lot of the fancy other stuff that comes up. I'm basically one of those people that goes into a health store to buy one thing and will walk out with 10 other items that I will use but wouldn't necessarily go in there needing. A lot of the vegan products you buy that can help, there are a lot of products that we use in vegan cooking that are, more expensive to get, but once you've got them, they last for a while. So things like, actually, yeast flakes aren't particularly expensive, but like yeast flakes, hemp seeds, hemp oil, whatever. But I mean, I've had mine for 2 months now and I'm still easily using them. But then on the other hand, you're not buying meat, which is also expensive. So I'd say it's either pretty much the same, but if you're very savvy and know how to do it, or if you particularly focus on it, then yes, it is definitely cheaper. For me, finance isn't an issue, so I don't worry about the cost of it, and I don't particularly notice it being more expensive. Sorry, my plus paying off. So yeah, it definitely can be cheaper to eat on a plant-based diet, but it shouldn't be more expensive to do it if you do it right. Is it normal for my second period to be 2 weeks early? Yes, very normal. If it's only your second period ever, then that's very normal. It'll take a couple of years to get into the right rhythm. I really want to swap to cloth pads, but I don't understand how it doesn't seep through without the PUL lining. Most pads are backed in a fabric called fleece, polyester fleece. This is water resistant. So PUL is waterproof, as in it physically cannot get through, moisture cannot get through the fabric. But fleece is water resistant, so a little bit of moisture won't go through the fleece, it will resist it. If you absolutely soaked it, then yes, you would get a little leak coming through. But I very, very rarely, I don't think I very rarely, if ever, leak through fleece. And if I do, it'll only be like a tiny spot on my underwear. But, fleece actually works fine and it's more breathable without the PUL, which is why some people are fine without it. But yeah, no, as long as you get the right heaviness of the flow pad to match your flow, you'll be absolutely fine. I'm having so many struggles with using a menstrual cup. I can't get it to open and I just want to quit. Please help me. I have a video on my channel going through tips and tricks for opening a menstrual cup. So go and have a look at that. But the main one is use lubricant to insert it. Try different folds. I have a video on different folds you can use with a menstrual cup as well. Try different folds to insert it in. I find that the easiest sometimes is using the punch down fold and then pressing on like where that fold has happened. If you have a softer cup though, you might find the 7 fold quite useful, as you can actually physically open the rim. I really used to bring a menstrual cup with me. I did not think this through. You can like physically open the rim of the menstrual cup with the 7 fold, but just trying different folds that work for you, pushing the cup up, pulling it down, pushing it up again, pressing against the side to get some air, and those are all tips and tricks for getting a cup open. But like I said, go and check out the video because it's got all of them in there. Let's find some more. Should I not use a cup when I have bad cramps? Would it help if I didn't use one? I personally don't use a cup when I got bad cramps just because I find that I feel like I'm worried the cup is causing bad cramps. But if you've got cramps and you don't mind having a menstrual cup in there, then by all means, go for it. Just use it. Hang on, I'm just gonna scroll down. Definitely, it doesn't mean you can't use menstrual cup if you've got bad cramps. I just personally prefer not to. Right, let me just have a look. Oh my goodness, right, okay, so a lot of comments here, and I have just realized that it seems to be frozen. No, okay, doesn't look frozen. I've completely lost where I was now. Got so many questions to get through today. It's great to see so many of you here, though. I think we're over like 270 people watching now. I think that's got to be a record for how many I've had for this. Right, let me see. Let me go on up. Okay, right. I can't find exactly where I left off of, so if I've skipped some comments, I'm really sorry. I'm quite behind the. Yeah, you guys are typing comments out quite quickly today, so I can't go through all of them. Like I have to skip over quite a few, but let me see where I can find it. Okay, are Thinx pants a good option for someone who has pretty heavy periods, at least for the first few days? As long as you choose the heavy flow ones, then yeah, I think they're great. I really like Thinx actually. I always forget I had those underwear, but they're great, I think. They're especially good if you want to dance and maybe you've got a menstrual cup in, to have them as backup. They're great for that. If you've got a heavy period, you might want to use like a tampon or a menstrual cup or something else, or maybe a pad over the top of it, and have it as like a backup. But I think they can hold a heavy flow. Yeah, again, you'll have to just experiment. Maybe wear them for an hour, see how you do, check them again, wear them for another hour, so you can kind of work out how long you can wear them for before you need to change them. But Thinx can hold a surprising amount. So yeah, I definitely would recommend you try them. Just make sure you go for the heavy flow one. How can I go on a plant-based diet when my family doesn't like the idea and kind of makes fun of it? Should I wait till I move out? It's definitely, and actually the next comment below that is tips for being plant-based. It is definitely easier to be plant-based when you are living on your own, or when you're living on your own. So the chances are, even if you move out though, you'll have to share with somebody. So it's probably a good idea to start getting used to it. I think it's easier to be plant-based as long as you know how to cook. If you are happy to cook all your own meals, then it's pretty easy. The problem I had with the first time I went vegan was I was still living at home and I wasn't very well, so I couldn't cook my dinners. I had to ask my mum to do that, and she would typically just cook a normal dinner and leave out the bits that were like non-vegan. So I essentially have like half meals, and that's a real problem. Whereas when you cook vegan, you can cook bigger portions and you're only cooking with ingredients that you can eat. So I guess getting the milk or something is the hardest bit. If you can convince your family that you want to drink almond milk or whatever alternative milk you want, and then you can use an alternative butter. Getting things like flaxseed to use as egg alternatives or whatever. Once you can cook, it really is a lot easier. But yeah, I'd say cooking is the main thing. If you can cook, you will have no problem being plant-based. Even at home, maybe you have your own little cupboard where you can put all the other things that you need. But other than that, it's basically just fruits, vegetables, and grains. So that's all you need to be able to do. As long as you find some great recipes and you can work them out how to make it work for you, then you'll be fine. It might just be that you have to be plant-based for the moment for breakfast and for lunch, and maybe for dinner then you can't be, or you make your own snacks or something. If you're plant-based part of the time, that will make it easier when you move out to go plant-based full-time. But yeah, you'll just have to see what works for you, really. Do you have any info on why my body may not be producing enough pregnancy hormones to show up positive when I take a pregnancy test? I'm about 27 days late. If you're that late, then you definitely want to go and see a doctor. Usually, if you haven't got a positive pregnancy test, and you're probably, by 27 days late, you're probably not pregnant. You probably didn't ovulate that month, and that means you've skipped a period, and your period might come again later. Or it might mean that you did get pregnant, but the pregnancy is not viable, so the hormone, your HCG hormone won't be increasing, and the likelihood in that case is that you would miscarry. But if you haven't had any positive pregnancy tests at all, then I reckon that you probably aren't pregnant. You've just skipped a period. But if by the next period you have still having a period, then I would definitely go to your GP and have that checked out. Will you give birth naturally or use pain relief? Hard to say until I actually am in the position where I'm pregnant and thinking about this, but I would personally prefer to have a natural birth if I can. I'd like to have a home birth, home water birth. Like with pain, it's really weird. If there's a purpose for it, I can handle it. Like I can see towards it, think, there's a reason I'm having this pain. It's fine. It's when it's pain that I can't explain, or I don't know why it's happening, or there's no like purpose behind it, like with period pains, that I kind of panic about it and really stress over it. With birth, it could be different though. And like I said, my mum didn't have any pain when she was giving birth to me, so you don't know how your body's going to react. And some people have very painful births because of the position of the baby or whatever. But if I had the choice, I would go natural as opposed to using pain relief. But we'll just have to see how things work out. My friend has PCOS and her doctor is considering removing her uterus if her cysts do not stop to hurt. She doesn't want to have it removed. What can she do to make the cysts hurt less? The only thing I know of with PCOS that can help reduce cyst pain is diet change. There is a fantastic book. Obviously plant-based diet is one option, but if you don't want to do that, there is a fantastic book called Woman Code by Elizabeth T. And she had PCOS and she managed to control her cycle to the point where she didn't have any pain, and she got pregnant the first month she started trying with her husband. So, it's one of those things, if you're really that determined to sort it out and you don't want surgery, then that book I would definitely recommend reading. It's called Woman Code. It's a pink book. You'll know it when you see it. And I definitely recommend that one for PCOS or endometriosis. They're both great. They both have she has like a food regime of what you should eat at which point in the month to support your natural cycle. How can I avoid that the cup slips down when I pee, or is it the wrong size? It might be the wrong size. You probably need a bigger cup or a stronger suction cup if that's happening, because it shouldn't be slipping down when you go to the toilet. Okay, I've heard horror stories about menstrual cups breaking hymens. It's the only thing putting me off. All right, the first thing I need to say is you cannot break your hymen. Your hymen isn't like a piece of glass that cracks. It's more like a piece of thin skin. You can stretch it or you can tear it. As long as you use a good water-based lubricant with your menstrual cup, you should have no problem inserting this in. The only time that your hymen can really tear is if you are too violent with the cup, or like often the reason that hymens tear during sex, unless you have a reason why your hymen is particularly strong, it's actually because we haven't got enough natural lubrication and we don't tend to use lube. But if you use lubricant, sex cups or whatever, you will make things much easier and it will be a lot less painful. Certainly with the menstrual cups though, use a good lubricant the first time. As I said before, I always use lubricant with menstrual cups. Fold it down to the punch down fold, put plenty of lubricant on it, cover it in lubricant, put some lubricant around your vaginal opening, like on your labia and stuff, and then slowly insert the cup. And make sure the fold, if you're using the punch down, I really should have brought a menstrual cup with me. If you're using the punch down fold, make sure the fold is facing away from your urethra. Your urethra is at the front, so you have your urethra, your vaginal opening, and then your anus down the bottom. Make sure the fold is facing your anus and not your urethra, because otherwise if it pops open, that's when it really hurts. But personally, like, it doesn't hurt me to insert. It didn't hurt. I was a virgin when I used a cup the first time. It didn't hurt me at all to like insert it, just because I use so much lubricant. So yeah, that's the main thing. Scroll down. Opinion on the ring stem from Maluna for high cervix. The thing I've heard the best about the ring stem for the Maluna is that you can tie like floss string through it so that you can have a longer stem to pull it out of. So you could pull it down with the string and then hook your finger through the loop. But personally, I don't have a high cervix, so I've never experimented with that. So I couldn't say like how it worked out for me or anything. Let me have a look. Any eczema tips, medication, creams? The best cream I found for eczema is the Forever Aloe Vera brand. They do a bee propolis cream and it is amazing. That's the only thing I use on my eczema now, even if like my skin is dry or whatever on my face. I naturally tend to go spotty at different points in my cycle. I'm ovulating now, so it's cleared up a little bit around here. But I'll use it on my face, I use it on my skin. It's just fantastic stuff. And actually, my father has really dry skin as well. He uses it. My mum uses it. We love that product. So, Bee Propolis from Forever Aloe, best stuff ever. Definitely recommend that cream. Do you recommend the pill for pain? For me personally, I would not recommend the pill for period pain just because the pill doesn't solve a problem. What the pill does, I always describe the pill the same way, and I say it's like you're driving a car and a warning light comes up on your dashboard. What the pill does is the equivalent of you taking a piece of duct tape and sticking it over that warning light. You haven't actually done anything to solve the problem, like open the engine of the car, like gone in, open the bonnet, looked at the engine of the car. You've just masked it. So now you can't see the dashboard warning light, so you think there's no problem there. That's what the pill does. It doesn't actually solve any issue. So, you know, whilst you're driving that car around with that duct tape on it, the issue might be getting worse and you don't know about it because you can't see it. That's why personally I would only recommend the pill as a form of contraception as opposed to a method of controlling period pain. You're far better off trying to solve your period pain through diet, through supplements, all that kind of stuff. Yeah, diet and supplements probably the main one, and any natural pain relief remedies you can, just because I would use the pill as a last resort only, really. So let me have a look. Right, I'm going to scroll a bit further down now because I've got quite behind on all these comments, so I just want to see how just see some of the lower comments. Okay. Oh, this is a really good question. Hi, Brie. I'm in college and I want to use cloth pads. How would you suggest being secretive to wash the cloth pads in shared washers and a dryer in the dorm hall? Now, there's a great product called a mesh bag. Personally, when I use cloth pads, I just take them in the wet bag. You could have a very discreet wet bag, like a black, simple one. Unzip it. You don't even have to like take the pads out. You could just put them in straight like that with the zipper undone, or shake them out. I prefer to shake them out because I think it helps get them clean faster. And just put them in the washing machine. If you don't want them to be seen going around the washing machine, what you can do is get what we call a mesh laundry bag. You might want a really reasonably decent sized one. Put the cloth pads in that before you leave your dorm room and put them in your laundry with your other clothes. You can actually wash cloth pads with your normal clothes. The only thing you've got to be careful of is fabric softener. You can't use normal fabric softener. So what you will have to do is I use about 2 or 3 tablespoons of white distilled vinegar. Actually, it's cheaper than fabric softener anyway, so it works out quite well for college students. It's a natural fabric softener, it's good for your skin, and it won't affect the absorbency of your pads. So just use that instead of fabric softener in the machine, and you can put your clothes and your cloth pads in together, so it just looks like you're washing your normal clothes and the pads are all contained in this mesh laundry bag, and they will still get pretty clean that way. Then again, put them in the dryer, but be careful. You don't want to use high heat. Use high heat with cloth pads because it can damage them if they have bamboo fibers in there. If you use the low heat, that can help speed up the process, and then they can dry the rest of the time in the room, or you can dry them completely in the dryer. It's just up to you, but you can wash them in a mesh laundry bag with your laundry. It's fine if you want to be really discreet about it. To be honest, I would personally just wash them, whatever. No one else's business but mine. Let's have a look. Scroll down. Does stress affect period pains? Yes, it definitely does. If you are more stressed, you're more likely to have a heavier, more painful period than if you aren't stressed. So if in the last month, I know it's been like GCSEs and A-levels recently, or exams for lots of you guys at school, if your periods are suddenly more painful or heavier or all erratic recently, don't worry, it was probably caused by the stress. Give it a few more months while everything's settling down, and you should be fine again. Are you sex positive? You probably need to elaborate on that one because I'm not entirely sure in what sense you mean. Let me have a go. How's your dating life going? Very good question. I don't really know. It's the honest answer. I think it's going well, but yeah. I think love is always complicated, and there's not much happening in my dating life right now, so certainly nothing interesting to relate, I'm afraid. Sorry. Let me have a look. How long we go? Oh, almost 40 minutes. We've done better than the last couple of ones. I'm going to do this for an hour, and then I will stop the video after that. Do you have point shoes? I do. I actually was supposed to go and pick up my new ones today and completely forgot about it, so on my list for things to do tomorrow. But yes, I do have point shoes. I've been in point shoes since I was 11, so 7 years now. Well, I was on and off, so yeah, about 7 or 8 years now. Can my cup get sucked deeper in me if I keep trying to get it out or if I'm walking around a lot? Your cup can move up, but it can't get sucked up anywhere. I promise you, your vagina is not a black hole. You can only go as far as your cervix. If your cup gets really deep and you're worried about it, first of all, don't panic, it makes it worse. Squat down in the bath or in the shower, whatever. When you squat, you shorten your vaginal canal. Reach up again and see if you can reach it. If you can't, get a teaspoon, sterilize it in boiling water for 5 minutes, let it cool down. Don't put a boiling hot spoon inside you. Let it cool down, or put it in cold water, and then try and use the end of the teaspoon and see how far you need to put it inside you before you can tap the cup, and that'll give you some idea of how far it is. And you can actually also use the spoon to hook it out if you absolutely have to. That's very, very rare. It would never move up that far. Squatting down should be enough for you to grab the stem and pull it out pretty easily. And if you find it's very slippy, just have a piece of toilet paper in your hand, and every time you reach up there to grab it, if you get slippy, just take your fingers out and dry it on the paper again and reach up, and eventually you'll find that the base will get dry and you'll be able to get a good grip. When I am on my period, I have major back pain. Is there any medication that I can use or patches you recommend? You could try a CBD patch, actually. That I've shown them before. You sit them on your wrists. They're for pain, not just for period pain, but for general pain. So you could try that. Or if you're interested in CBD or you're not worried about it, then that can be very good for back pain. I've had a lot of people have great success with CBD for back pain, and it's also natural. So you don't have to take any strong, heavy drugs for it, which is always a bonus. So that's something I would recommend you could try. But it also depends on whether it's an injury. If you have had back problems for a long time, I'd recommend going to see a chiropractor because they could probably help you the most. Do you know why heat packs don't work for you? No, I just don't find heat particularly helpful. The problem is I'm someone that naturally overheats quite easily, so having heat on my stomach when I'm on my period, I'm already in pain, so my body likes to heat up naturally. So putting extra heat on there really doesn't help, and I probably get dehydrated very easily, which is what reminded me I need to drink here now, homemade energy drink. Right, I've got a long night tonight. Let me see. When did you start wearing makeup? I don't wear makeup on a daily basis at all. I rarely wear makeup, maybe for like a date or a special night out or whatever. If I want to put makeup on, I might do that, but I very, very rarely do. But I would have started experimenting with it about age 12, 13 probably. I gave up on it pretty quickly. I didn't see the point in it, but yeah, that was probably when I started. Right, I'm going to do a lot of scrolling now and see where we get to. Is the actual aloe vera gel straight from the plant a good lubricant? I'm a virgin, so I want to know to have less pain as possible. Good on you for using lube. So many people are scared to use lubricant the first time because they associate it with sex. it's a different thing. It's just there for lubrication. Using lube will make things so much easier for you. And yes, actual aloe vera gel straight from the plant does work as a good lubricant. I have used aloe vera. I've used aloe vera as a lubricant before. Aloe vera and xanthan gum. They were the two ingredients in one of the products I used because I couldn't like take it straight from the plant. But yes, aloe vera definitely works great as a lubricant. Is it normal to be hungry all the time before your period? That's very common actually. It's just because of the change in hormones or whatever. But yeah, that's really normal. I like to think of it as Mother Nature's way of stocking up for the ordeal that's about to happen. But yeah, it is very normal. Let's do some more scrolling. What can I do for my discharge? There's loads and I haven't had my first period wet yet. What do I do? Discharge is completely normal. It's often starts before your period, several months or a year before your period even comes. Just using a panty liner to catch it is the only thing you can do. Discharge is perfectly healthy though. It's actually your vagina's way of clearing itself out. You don't want to do anything for it. Douching is the worst thing you can do because you put yourself at risk of upsetting the pH balance and causing infections, and you're more likely to get UTI or bacterial infections, so don't do that. Just leave it how it is. Use some panty liners to catch the discharge and wait for Mother Nature to bestow the red gift on you. Because it's gonna come at some point. Okay, what tips would you give to a teenage girl who is scared to use a tampon but really wants to? Lubricant, again, I'm going to repeat myself over and over, but lubricant is the best thing. Using an applicator is a great one. I hate to say it because I don't like the waste they cause, but plastic applicator tampons are probably the easiest to insert the first time. Get the smallest size tampon you can, which in the UK, Tampax, the purple one, the Light Days is the best one. If you get it with the plastic applicator, smother, and I mean smother the applicator with lubricant, and check in a mirror. Put a mirror down there so you can see what's going on, and insert it very slowly, just the plastic. Don't push the tampon inside you, just the plastic, and then take it out again. And you'll be able to see that you can get that piece, that tampon applicator, in and out very easily, and that should help ease your anxiety. And then when you feel comfortable that you can repeat that several times, you can insert the tampon itself. And I would always have done that with the tampon by inserting the applicator in up to where the fingers hold at the bottom, and then I simply hold the back of the applicator in place and pull the finger part out so the tampon was still sitting very low as opposed to being pushed very high up. That always worked really well for me, but you know, you've got to figure out what works for you as well. But definitely just experimenting with putting the applicator inside several times with some lubricant smothered on it is the best way to get over the anxiety. Does OxiClean or Vanish get all of the bacteria out of cloth pads? You don't have to worry about bacteria. Your blood isn't bacteria infested. It's a complete myth. And if you really want to kill off bacteria, bacteria is on like clothes, it's on your skin, it's on everything. If you really want to kill it off, or if you're worried about it, then I would recommend doing a hot wash cycle with your pads. Soak your pads in cold water first and treat them with a stain stick before putting them in the washing machine with normal laundry detergent. And then put them on a wash for 60 degrees. Pads should survive fine at 60 degrees, but that will help kill off the bacteria if that's something that you're concerned about. I know there are some people that have like OCD and stuff, so it is a real issue. But that will be able to solve it if that's something you're really worried about. Okay, I'm 35 and have ME amongst other chronic illnesses. In the last year, my cycles have become 90+ days long. Do you know of a connection between ME and cycle length? Thanks. I don't know of a particular link from like a research project or anything that does this, but when I was still, when I was suffering with ME really badly and I was in part of the forum, we had a whole thread about periods because we noticed that our periods were changing because of it. It's just like the depletion of energy, and your body doesn't have, it's struggling to cope as it is, like just to normally function. So when your body's struggling with that, the last thing it's thinking about is its period. It's in kind of fight or flight mode. It's just wanting to survive. So it's very common to have issues with your period when you have ME or any other. If you've got other chronic illnesses as well, then I can see why that would be. If your cycles, I guess it might be worth seeing if you're ovulating, taking your temperature every day, or doing ovulation tests if you can afford that. Might give you a good idea of whether you're ovulating and just not bleeding, or whether you're not ovulating at all, because that could be a sign of PCOS as well. But yeah, there's definitely, I think, a connection between ME and having period problems. So it's not unusual, don't worry. Let me have a look. Oh, Instagram. Thank you, whoever that was. Oh, I probably should also reply to the lady whose kids I'm looking after as well. Let's go onto Instagram and quickly see. Oh, there aren't that many comments. That's all right. Okay. Let's just have a quick look. Has a date your age ever been turned off by your enthusiasm for having children while you're still young? Would you ever date someone slightly older and looking to start a family in the next couple of years? Fun fact, actually, I don't think I've dated someone my exact age. Well, I don't suppose I really dated him, but one of the guys I've been with, not sexually, was actually a little bit younger than me, but he was like me in the sense he was very mature for his age. So if you put us together, you would never have guessed that he was younger than me. You would have thought he was like in his early 20s. So I've only dated someone, when it wasn't really a date, but you know what I mean, like been with someone slightly younger than me, and guys who are older than me, because that's just like, I'm not really attracted to my own age group because of that reason. Not the kids thing, but because of the maturity level. So most of the guys I date are usually like mid-20s, and like I'd like to have children when I'm still young, but I'm not like dying to have them. It's not, I mean, I know I talk about them quite a lot because it's an interest of mine, but I could happily wait a couple of years to have kids. Like, it's not something I'm desperate to do. I'm more interested in finding the right person than that. But I actually tend to just be in general attracted to older guys who are like 5 or more years older than me. But my parents are 10 years apart in age, so like anything under that I consider to be a normal age gap, because that's what I've like grown up around. It doesn't seem weird to me. But I guess it's just like how you've grown up and stuff. Let's have a look. Have you ever had any problems with an ovarian cyst? I'm going for an ultrasound for it to see about it soon. I'm really nervous. I have had one ovarian cyst. It was actually on my second period. I had really bad pain in my right hip, and it just so happened that at the time I was having issues with going to the toilet to pee. It was really painful for me, so I was having an ultrasound for a completely different purpose, for them to look at my bladder. And I also managed to see my uterus, and it was just before my second period was about to start. So you know when you see like the diagrams in your biology books with the uterus lining full, it was crazy, because it was literally like looking at a diagram in a book. And I was like, whoa, I can see the blood all in my uterus lining and everything, and it literally looked like that triangle. And then they looked at my ovaries and realized that one of them was inflamed, and they said, one of your eggs has exploded. You've got a cyst. So that's the only experience I've had with an ovarian cyst. But don't worry about the ultrasounds. Ticklish, cold, but doesn't hurt. Sometimes painful in the sense you need the toilet, but it's not going to hurt you, so you don't need to worry about that. Please just give me 1 second while I just reply to the lady whose kids I'm looking after. Yeah. Right, let's get back onto the comments. Do you find it lonely living by yourself? I'm an only child, so I was kind of used to being on my own even before I moved out. And actually, I prefer having my own space. So no, I don't find it lonely. And plus the fact that I often have like refugees staying with me, so there's always something busy going on or kids running around the place. So no, I don't get lonely. But I like having my own space and the calm, quiet peace. Okie dokie. What do you suggest for a period kit for school? I think I've done a video on this not too long ago, actually, maybe a year or so, and that's what I would recommend for a period kit for school. But a few pads, a menstrual cup if you use that, tampons if you use them, a wipe and a spare pair of underwear, always a good idea for that sort of stuff. Is it normal for your period to start at 10? I started yesterday. It's normal for your period to start anywhere between age 8 and 18. So you're 10, you're in between that age, you're absolutely fine. It quite often depends on family history or genetics or just pure chance, to be honest. I started the same age my mom did, but that could just be a coincidence. Let me scroll down. I spot for a week, is this normal? That might mean you have low progesterone. If the spotting is slightly brown, if you spot for a week before your period starts, then that's a sign of low progesterone. So might be worth checking that out or taking Agnus Castius as a supplement. See, so many comments. I'm not used to having this many. So many. Which is better for cramps, ibuprofen or paracetamol? Again, personal preference. For me, I found ibuprofen works best as it's also an anti-inflammatory. But if I can, I try not to use them because I just think it's best to not use medication if you could possibly avoid it. But if you have really bad cramps and they're not going away with natural methods, then I would say ibuprofen is the best one for that. Right, gonna go all the way down to the bottom. Right, I'm fine that I'm crushing the sides of my cup while I'm using it. Do you think I might need a firmer cup? Yes, if you're crushing the sides of your cup while using it and you're leaking a bit, then you definitely do need a firmer menstrual cup. Why don't you love Party in My Pants pads as much? I love Pimp's pads. I personally find the backing of them is too slippery. They slide around a bit too much for me. And also their shape just doesn't work. But I only have like a panty liner. And the panty liner works fine for me. I like it quite a bit actually. But they're also quite expensive. So I don't have many, I don't really have any. Have you had any sexual experiences? If you have, how did you know you were ready? I haven't had full sex yet. And the truth is because I knew I wasn't ready. I'm the kind of person that really needs to be in a relationship to have sexual intercourse. I just knew that instinctively. I have had times when I could have had sex, but I just really was not ready. And I knew I wasn't ready because I was shaking like a leaf. The last guy I kissed, it was really good, and like I said, we could have had sex, but I just knew instinctively that it wasn't the right time. And the adrenaline was like my body was just literally doing this, and I felt kind of nauseous, and I just knew that I would know 100% in my mind when I was ready. And if you actually stop and think at that point, do I want this? Am I going to regret this tomorrow? That will usually give you your answer as to whether or not you're ready to do it. And I was so lucky because the guy who I was with just took it really slowly and stuff. And I was like, you know what, this is just not happening. And he understood that from the beginning. But it's, yeah, you will know when you know, basically. You will instinctively be able to tell. And everyone gets there at a different point. The key thing is to be able to tell the difference between what you want and peer pressure. Because trust me, when you're around a lot of girls your age and some of them have had sex and they're talking about it, it is so easy to start thinking, I should be doing this, I should be having sex and all that kind of stuff. If you take yourself out of that group for a second and whenever you're not around those people and just think, do I actually want that? If the answer is yes, then great, you know, that's it. But if the answer is I'm not sure, then just wait and hold off a bit, because the last thing you want to do is like regret what happened. So like, yeah, it's just an instinct, I think. And like I said, my instincts told me I wasn't ready before. But if I met the right person, I know that I would be ready to now, but I just have to be in a stable relationship and with the right guy. Is basically it. But girl, guy, whoever you're interested in, whatever, you'll know when the time is right, because you'll be able to feel it in yourself. And if you don't feel 100% sure it's right, don't do it, because you don't want to regret it. Are Mimi's Dreams pads good as first pads? Yes, I think Mimi's Dreams were my first like set of bought pads. I still have them now. I still use them now. They are fantastic first pads, actually. So yeah, I definitely recommend them, and I'm quite reasonably friendly with Hope, who's the lady that runs that company. So yeah, definitely recommend them. Right, a couple more questions, guys. I'm going to say bye to you. I have a high cervix and my uterus is tilted very fast to the left. I've tried the Lunette 1 and the Lena cup, but both are leaking. What cup would you recommend? High cervix, uterus tilted very far to the left. Lunette is a reasonably strong cup, and so is the Lena. I wouldn't recommend a soft cup. It's hard to tell what would work for you. I'm wondering if maybe you'd be better off with a softer cup. The Lunette and the Lena are both pretty much tulip cups, so maybe you want to find like a longer V cup. The Cup-Lee is very soft, so that might work in the sense that it molds better, but a cup that I think you might be better off with a softer cup as opposed to a more rigid cup, because both those cups are pretty strong. I'd recommend trying a different shaped cup. So the like I said, the Lena and the Lunette are very round like this, what we call tulip or U-shaped cups. A V cup is usually longer. So Malunas are more V-shaped cups. You could try a soft Maluna and see how that works out for you, and that's a slightly less expensive cup as well. Or you could go for a really firm cup like the Moon cup and see how that worked out for you, because that's got a very strong suction. But one of the two will probably be your best bet. I think you're going to need to be at one extreme or the other, but you won't know until you try it. My inclination would be to say soft, though, as it needs to conform to your shape, as opposed to firm, but it might be the other way around. You'll only be able to tell by experimenting. My period gets in the way of my dancing and I don't like using cups or tampons. Please help. If it's pain, find some sort of pain regime that works for you. But if it's actually being able to, oh, it looks like it's the actual products. Thinx underwear or period panties, they're a lifesaver for me when I'm on my period and I'm dancing. You can get flesh-colored ones that you can't see under your leotard. So yeah, a flesh-colored underwear that has a built-in period absorbency system is probably going to be working really well for you, because then you don't need to use pads and you don't have to worry about people seeing them through your underwear. So yeah, I'd recommend that for it. Right, one more question. Let's scroll through and see. I want to find a good one because it's the last one. Oh, this one's good. This one's completely different from anything else I've answered today. Would you ever go to a Lolita meetup, seeing as you've gotten into the fashion recently? Probably not, just because I'm not into the full Lolita thing. I've really got into anime. I will do a video on my vlog channel at some point about that as well. I think I've watched like 20 or so now, and I've really gotten into it, and I've actually been able to start watching anime that's just subbed as opposed to having the English dub on it. But I don't go full Lolita. I just sort of take Lolita-inspired outfits. So I wouldn't wear a wig or do the makeup or anything. I might do my hair in like a cutesy style, like bunches I quite like to do now. And I have my hair in like 2 bunches earlier today as well. Pigtails, whatever you call them. But I don't like to go full out into it, like with the shoes, socks, and everything. I just sort of take the inspiration. So sometimes I'll wear thigh-high socks with shorts. I was dying for a pair of suspender shorts. I couldn't find them anywhere, and I finally found one online with Amazon, so hopefully they fit, fingers crossed. But yeah, I just take bits of the fashion that I see and I like, and I incorporate them into sometimes wearing it daily. But I probably, at this point in time, wouldn't go to a meetup, but who knows, in the future, we'll see. Anyway, guys, I hope you enjoyed this live stream. I don't do them very often, but I thought as I was babysitting, I would try and get one done for you. So I hope you enjoyed this, and thank you for all your questions. It's been a pleasure to have you and to answer them all. Now I need to go and drink a last glass of water because I've been talking so much. It's very hard to do this, by the way. If you ever try to talk for an hour, your throat really goes sore. But yeah, I will try and get the video I was supposed to put up today up tomorrow, and then I will see you on Friday after that. So bye.